Well, hello guys, I am back from my trip to South America, taking part in the first ever Final Frontier Patagonia, a 3,000 kilometer unsupported bikepacking event, not a race, through Chile and Argentina to the end of the world, literally the end of the world, where penguins and sea lions live. And it was an incredible once in a lifetime opportunity and some of the best and hardest riding I've ever done in my life. And there's a full video on my experience, the highs and lows, and there were some dramatic lows coming in the next few days and weeks. I arrived home yesterday after 2 days of traveling and 20 hours on a plane, so I need time to digest what happened in those 2 weeks of riding. But today, I want to go through my bike setup, the bike, equipment, details, and what worked and what didn't. And before we dive in, a big thank to both Parley Cycles for supplying the bike and Arse Magic for the chamois cream. Going to the other side of the world to take part in events costs money. It's not cheap, it's not free. So their support enabled me to do it. So I really appreciate their support and products I believe in anyway. So I genuinely recommend these products. But let's have a look at the bike. This might be quite a long video, so settle in for a very detailed breakdown of my bike packing setup for a 3,000 kilometer event. So let's start with the big stuff and the frame, the Parley Taos. I reviewed it over a year ago and was very impressed with it. And when I made my shortlist for a bike for the challenge, the Parley was on there for a number of reasons. Not just because they're sponsoring the video, but because it had the details I was looking for, namely big tire clearance, down tube storage, the ability to take SRAMs, explore group set, and a geometry better suited to long distance comfort than head down aero gravel racing, and especially the geometry designed around a suspension fork. The rigid fork that comes on the bike is the same length as the RockShot Rudy here. Normally the gravel rigid forks are shorter, so front end is lower, but this one has a longer fork, so it's higher, and that suited me just fine. A slightly higher position is perfect when you're riding 12 hours every day for 2 weeks. So the high position was something I was keen on, and the Parley offered that. And also a lightweight carbon frame, lots of good details like a threaded bottom bracket, external seat clamp, and semi-internal routing, so I can fit a round handlebar, which I need for the accessories I fit onto the handlebar. So yeah, very, very happy with the Parley. It worked, it performed flawlessly. The handling is good, that stability you want at high speed when you're tired after riding the bike for 10 hours. Great at high speed over gravel. And it sounds cheesy, but it really does look after you, and it really looked after me as well. And good comfort with loads of seat post extension. So yeah, no complaints about the bike at all. And even if it wasn't sponsored by Parley, it's a bike I would happily have chosen for all the reasons I've outlined. And then the RockShot Rudy suspension fork. Lots of detractors saying suspension is overkill, you'd be better off on a hardtail mountain bike, and you may be right, but I found it perfect. I ran a suspension stem last year in Badlands, which was great until it failed, but the RockShot Rudy offers similar suspension comfort benefit to a suspension stem, but feels more natural. Essentially, you don't notice it working at all, you don't really feel it working at all, apart from the fact all that harshness that comes through the front end normally is gone. It just smooths out all the rough stuff really well. And on the washboard gravel, it was a dream. So I'm very happy to have that on there. And the lockout lever fell out on day 2 or 3, but I left it open all the time. I set the fork up quite firm to account for the extra weight on the bike, so it wasn't bobbing about. I wasn't losing efficiency or speed when riding on a tarmac or pavement or on climbs out of the saddle. So very happy to have it open all the time. And it also meant I was fast down the hills as well, much faster than other people I was riding with on the hard packed gravel. So yeah, there were question marks from people around me running that, but I was very happy to have it and had no doubt about it as soon as we hit the first gravel on day 1. And yes, I ran past the 50-hour service interval, but as any mountain biker knows, you run your forks and shocks well past service intervals, and it carried on working just fine beyond that. I don't know how many hours I rode, but 14 days, yeah, quite a few. one of the decisions that stressed me out the most before this event was tyre choice. And I asked your input, your feedback on tyre selection, both here on YouTube and on Instagram. And I got loads of recommendations, as you'd expect, but one that stood out the most was the Pirelli Centenato Gravel H, a newly updated tyre end of last year, earlier this year. And I put a call out to Pirelli and they kindly sent me a pair for use, and they proved to be perfect. I went wide as well, 50mm wide, because I knew the gravel would be tough in places, and a 50mm isn't much slower than a 45, so I thought a trade-off in comfort would override that loss in speed and aerodynamics and a bit of high weight. And the tread compound, this their hard pack tyre, was perfect. Most of the gravel was, in my experience, dry, dusty, but rocky, and lots of pavement as well, at times quite rough, at times quite smooth. So I knew I needed a tyre to be fast on the road, but also grippy and that looser stuff. I didn't need a fully treaded sort of UK gravel tyre for mud. Mud wasn't an issue for me, but for some people still doing the event right now, as I speak, it's been snowing, it's been raining, and that's a different matter. They might need a mud tyre, but these tyres, for the riding I experienced, was perfect. I probably could have got away with 45. I was riding with people on 40s and 45, so yes, a 40 or 45 would have been fine. I know these were offering better comfort and more speed on the rougher sections, and not slower on the tarmac, but maybe marginally slower than a 45 or 40 maybe, but not enough to really make the bike feel sluggish or make it feel like working extra hard to push these tyres along the road. And amazingly, incredibly, with Silca sealant inside, I had no punctures, which in 3,000 kilometers I find pretty bloody staggering. So yeah, very lucky I guess. And I pushed the tyre pretty hard throughout the event, and they're wearing pretty well. The back tyre has worn quite a lot, as you expect, given the distance and the weight of the bike. So yeah, very happy with the tyre choice. A tyre I can now highly recommend based on that riding. A big decision, but an easy one for me, was the group set. 1x versus 2x, Shimano versus SRAM. Well, for me, I went with SRAM with the Force Explore because it just works really well. I like the gear range. The 1046 was enough for me to get to most climbs pretty much fine. There were a few steeper, gruntier climbs where a 1052 would have been nice, and quite a few other people, including the Flying Frenchman, had the bigger cassette. But like I say, most of the time, I coped just fine. And with that interface, that direct mount interface, when I dropped the bike a few times, there was no bent mech hanger to worry about. All I had to do was charge the battery a few times. I had 2 batteries with me, one fully charged, and yeah, a second to swap. So much easier than charging Di2. And yes, some people would say mechanical is better, but gear cables can still snap. And this proved to be reliable for 3,000 kilometers. So for me, yeah, electronic shifting in an event like that, no drama at all. I was also very happy to have the improved ergonomics of the new SRAM hoods as well. When you're riding a bike for 10, 12 hours, comfort is everything. And those new hoods are jolly comfortable when riding a long time. And the brake levers, that light lever action is fantastic when you're tired. Towards the end of the day, you ride into the night, it's dark, it's cold, windy, just having that easy braking when you're half asleep, yeah, really, really nice feature. My choice of Hunt Limitless carbon wheels was informed as much by my desire to run a dynamo front hub, a Sun dynamo front hub. That was a key learning from Badlands about my battery bank failing, and that's something I was keen to avoid. And given how remote big stretches of the route, the Final Frontier Patagonia route were, that was a key factor in the wheels. One of the few manufacturers that offers an off-the-shelf wheel set with the dynamo and not requiring or needing a custom build. And the wheels, they're great wheels. They prove to be lightweight, which helps in a bike packing setup, reasonably aerodynamic for high-speed sections, and a nice broad platform for the 50mm wide tyres I was running. In the end, the dynamo wasn't as key as I thought it would be. I had 2 battery banks for this event, and I actually managed to stay in lodgings most of the time. I camped a few times, so I was able to charge those battery banks. And having 2 battery banks, a small one and a big one for my phone and one for electronic devices, meant I actually had enough battery juice in those 2 battery banks that the dynamo wasn't essential as I thought it would be. With hindsight, I could have got away with not having a dynamo, but it's not much extra weight and a drag from the dynamo. You don't notice that on a setup like this, so I think better to have it than not have it. If one of those battery banks had failed, or both failed, then the dynamo would have been much more useful than it proved to be. Living on the bike, with everything you need for 2 weeks of riding on the bike, is both stressful and kind of liberating at the same time. And after a couple of days, you get into a swing of things in terms of where you keep stuff and what you need and what you don't need. The first pack, the first day, is probably the hardest, because after that first day, you realise where stuff actually goes, and it makes a lot more sense, and it gets easier as the trip goes on. And it also makes you realise how little stuff you need for riding 2 weeks. You basically need some clothes, tools, and lots of food. So I use a full tail fin setup, not sponsored. I like the products, I like the way they work, the modular approach to the design, and I've used them before at events, so I knew they worked. So we start at the back, the latest Aero cargo pack. The beauty of this is how it just comes off like that. So you go to a hotel or camping, that just removes in a second. And a bag, you can load it up with as much stuff you want. I use this for my tent, sleeping bag, sleeping mat, and all my sleeping equipment and other stuff on top of that. These mesh pockets on the side expand, so great for your biscuits, your chocolate bars, your suntan lotion, stuff you need to easily reach, and it packs down really well, and it's waterproof too. And then moving forward, the frame pack, not quite long enough to fit the full frame. In here I had all my tools, so my punch repair kit, my multi-tool, stuff I needed in a jiffy in case I got mechanical. And then more food in the front, and on this side, my passport, my event passport, my wallet, and money and stuff like that. And then these 2 bags here, again, you could go to a full top tube bag, which might make more sense, but having a separation is nice. So in here, I love this bag, how that just opens up like that. In here, I have my 2 battery banks, some sunblock, and other bits and bobs with a wire, with a cable from the dynamo front hub into here to charge the USB banks. And here was just snacks, full of whatever food I could get from a gas station. So chocolate bars and other bars like that. So yeah, food, battery banks, essentials. And then up front in the handlebar bag was most of my clothes. I didn't have many clothes. I had 2 pairs of bib shorts, 1 jersey after I lost 1 on day 1, 1 base layer, 3 pairs of gloves, mitts, long finger, lightweight, and 4 winter gloves, leg warmers. I had 2 long sleeve tops, like a thick one and a thicker one, and a rain jacket and a puffer coat, and some lightweight trousers, and some 3 pairs of socks, so waterproof socks, lightweight socks, and medium socks, and that's it. I didn't carry spare shoes. I had my bike shoes, and that was it. So very, very lightweight. And then I had 3 bottle cages, 1 in the fork, 2 in the frame. I had 2 pumps, manual pump and an electronic pump, and then up front the cockpit. My home for 2 weeks, starting with a race shift handlebar because I like the shape, swept back from the centre and flare drops, a bit of flex you can feel on rougher ground, and wrapped in ergon tape, a bit thicker than gravel tape, so 3mm thick, a bit more cushioning, no double taping or anything like that. And then the same profile extensions I used at Badlands last year with a 40mm stack riser to bring the front end higher to stop my neck going floppy, and some bar tape on there. I was going to put some blips, so remote shifters for my gears on there, but ran out of time. That's why that's been cut off. So that's something I would do next time. And then here is the toggle switch for the dynamo from K-Lite. Go from the front light there to the battery USB charging in there. Very neat. And the beauty of the tail fin handlebar bag is you have this bracket assembly here. So got 3 accessory points, 1 for the light, 1 for the light there, and 1 for my computer. And as you can see, the only thing that failed on the bike was my light bracket, which is what I taped there. So electrical tape gets you out of a problem in a jiffy. And that really is my home, my setup for 2 weeks. It's a bit of a mess, a bit sweaty, but it worked really well for me. And there's nothing I'll change about the front end again, just other than getting a better light bracket. And the beauty of this Parley, once again, is that semi-internal routing, so you run a round handlebar and fit these accessories, which you do need for an ultra distance event like this. And then lastly, my saddle was a Physique Argo Adaptive, and it was superbly comfy for the entire ride. I like the shape of the Argo anyway. The width, the shape, and the 3D printing is fantastic for long days. And I had used it previously for a week's riding in Spain, Calpe. I knew from that ride that week it was good, and it proved to be good. And I see it's still in one piece, it's not broken, not wearing out. And yeah, that was a very comfortable perch for 2 weeks. And amazingly, the only thing that failed on the bike in the entire 3,000 kilometers was the light bracket, which I sellotaped or electrical tape to the extensions. It was a 3D printed mount. I guess it was just too fragile for the rocky terrain, and that failed on day 3 or 4. But apart from that, everything else was hunky-dory. And one thing I did not use was my bell. That's the first time I used it in 2 weeks. There we go. Didn't actually need that. But everything else I used, well, apart from the pumps and punch repair kits, everything else was used. So there we go, a full detailed breakdown of my bike packing setup. What worked and very little that didn't work. Choices based on some experience from Badlands last year, and a real emphasis on comfort and reliability over speed and aerodynamics, and with lessons from the likes of Josh Ibbott and many other people in the cycling long distance ultra community. I read loads of articles and watched loads of videos. I'll put some links down below to stuff that really helped me in the decision behind this bike. So very happy and fortunate and lucky, I guess, that it all worked so well. But an event where anything could have gone wrong, and at times you're miles away from the nearest town with no cell receptions. So I am very lucky that nothing went wrong and left me stranded in the middle of nowhere. And once again, big thanks to Parley Cycles for their support, and Arse Magic, who have given me a discount code, JustRideBike20, on screen right now to share with you at their website linked down below. Let me know what you think of the bike setup, what you do differently if you're doing an event like this. Love to hear from you as always, so drop a comment down below. And I see another video on this bike, watch this video right up here. But that is all for today. Stay tuned for my event experience video coming in the near future. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching.